Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today, the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Avacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, the smiling coast I know, only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Bonnier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. I am Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, and, of course, around the world on the internet via our new internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And, hey, get on the phone, call your friends, and tell them to call 832-999-1199 and listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show over their telephone. Joining me today as my co-host, as he usually does on Wednesday, but today is Thursday, but he's here anyway, is Jonathan Mosley. John, welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
To be here. I thought you told me this was Wednesday. That's how you got me to do it today. No, I'm serious.
Well, you needed a co-host for Thursday. Sharon Engel had to do the show on Wednesday. She couldn't do it today, so just had to trick you a little bit, my friend. But I'm glad.
Well, and you had me going there for a moment. You know, there's a giant solar flare that's supposed to be disrupting communications. It sounds like it got you there for a couple seconds. The opening of the show.
Yes. Yes.
And. Of course, I am in the Bermuda Triangle still here, so if you suddenly never hear from me again, some people, could throw a party and celebrate, but you might know why. The island has disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle. Anyway.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, John. The phone connection has never been better.
Yeah, I promised.
Yes.
Everything. Everything in they opened a new airport terminal, and they kept saying it was going to open by Christmas, and the answer is which year? Things get done eventually.
Okay, all right. So, hey, John, I had a very interesting night last night with Kevin Wade. I wanted to talk with you and our guests about. Kevin Wade and I were invited by Frontiers of Freedom to the Ronald Reagan Award Gala with a very special guest, Gary Sinise, last night in Washington, D.C. So as I tell people, and as I forewarn people, never invite Rick Trader someplace that you don't want him to show up. But it was great to go down there. We met some people down there that we've had here on the show as guests and have never met. Horace Cooper was down there. Actually, Horace Cooper was the welcome, and he also presented the Lincoln Award to Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers. So I finally got to meet Horace Cooper. It was great to meet Horace and saw
I went to law school with him. He helped to keep me sane going through law school. Go ahead.
Well, you know what? He looks much younger than you. He really did. He looked much younger than you. But it was great to see him there, and I was also Penny Starr from CNS News, saw her there, and some of the people who helped get our great guests here on the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. George Landreth was there from Frontiers of Freedom, who we've had on the show several times, and I had an opportunity to meet Gary Sinise and invite him on the show. He said he'd love to come on and talk about the work that he does with veterans. Our good friend Congressman Steve Stockman was there, and also our good friend Congressman Louis Gohmert from Texas. So I couldn't resist the temptation to pull out the tape recorder and do a real quick interview with Congressman Louis Gohmert. He made some really interesting statements about David Bratt's victory in Virginia, also about immigration, and also about Bergdahl's release. So what I'd like to do, John, is I'd like to play this audio clip now, my interview with Congressman Louis Gohmert, so you can hear it, and then we're going to bring you back, and we'll talk about the comments that Congressman Gohmert had, okay?
Right, that's great.
All right, with that, John, we're going to put you on hold, and we're going to play the interview that I did last night with Congressman Louis Gohmert. Back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Exciting news coming out of Virginia last night. What's your reaction?
Just thrilled for Dave. I like Eric. He's a very nice guy. But we had some strong disagreements in areas where it looks like Dave and I have strong agreements. Mm-hmm. So I think he will be a tremendous addition to Republicans in the Congress. And actually, God's good. I mean, you just, when you're down on hope, you always seem to get a little extra boost. So my sympathies with the Cantor family. They're sweet, wonderful folks. Eric is too. I like somebody that agree with as much as I think Dave and I are going to agree. So I look forward to that.
Do you believe this puts a brakes on so-called immigration reform?
That I can't say because, there is some concern that it could even hasten some kind of amnesty bill. Now, I'm all for immigration reform. We need immigration reform. But until the border is secure, it is absolutely insane to bring a bill up. It does such a disservice. It lures young people, as we're seeing by the thousands, into their detriment. We got to stop talking about it and wait until the border's secure, and then as soon as it's secure, I guarantee you we'll reach an immigration reform bill. But until that happens, we shouldn't even talk about it.
Speaking of young people coming to our border, there's reports out of hundreds of thousands young people coming from Central and South America and into camps, and we could almost call them Obama orphanages. Your reaction to the young people coming out?
Well, it's heartbreaking, and there are articles in Central American, South American newspapers saying come to the U.S. because they're not sending people back anymore. They'll provide you legal counsel, is an article this week. They'll provide you health care, place to eat, sleep. The word is out. And then so many of these people we're understanding, they get here and then they call back and say it's true. They're not sending anybody home. Come on now. Mm-hmm. And so for the Obama administration to have a spokesman say in the past week, we just can't understand why this increase in children immigration is occurring. Well, duh. How smart do you have to be? You've rolled out the welcome mat and said, we'll take care of you. So we have got to secure the border because it is luring people to their detriment. Some end up with sexual traffickers, human traffickers that are not scrupulous, and it's got to stop. It's time to secure the border, and then after that, we work out an immigration reform bill. But till the border secured, not as confirmed by DHS, but as confirmed by the unanimous agreement of all the border states, then we get an immigration reform bill done.
And Congressman, one last thing, there are reports out that arrests by ICE is also down this year.
Now, there was a lot of deceptiveness in the Obama administration's figures to begin with. They kept reporting that they were having more deportations than any administration in history, and then when we finally got to the bottom of the numbers, turns out they don't at all. They're not close to Bush, and actually Bush had less than Clinton did. But what they started doing was counting turnarounds, where people come to the border and they're turned around and told, no, you can't come in. Just as our Marine should have had happen going to Mexico when he couldn't turn around. He should have gotten there, and as he explained, it was a mistake. They should have turned him around. We do that hundreds of thousands of times. Well, this administration started counting those as deportations, even though they never went through any deportation proceeding at all. So you can't believe some of this administration's numbers, as it turns out, when we get to the bottom of it.
And if I could, one last question, a comment about the release of the 5 Taliban, high-ranking Taliban for Baghdad.
As I said on the floor today, there will be Americans killed because of that atrocious deal, so-called. Yes, we always like to get Americans back, but not if it's going to cost many more Americans their lives. We have just put targets on the backs. And this was what Marcus Luttrell was saying yesterday. We just made huge, even bigger targets on the back of our men and women in the military, because now the world knows we negotiate with terrorists and we'll give you 5-1 or better.
Congressman Louis Gohmert, great to see you, and thank you for spending time with us. All right, there you go, John Mosley. That's the interview that I did last night with Congressman Louis Gohmert of Texas, good friend of our show. And he said some very interesting things, John. He said Americans will be killed, and we just put targets on the backs of our military.
Yeah, that was so many issues going on there. I was jealous that you got to go there and I couldn't. I'm so glad you played that. We may need to go back to having an extra hour to discuss everything going on in the news because there's so much there. And I really want to talk about the border. I want to talk about Eric Cantor and David Bratt, but we're negotiating to get Jamie Radke of the Richmond Tea Party on and David Bratt himself. So I'm going to try to bite my tongue a bit about that. But what's going on the border, OMG, this is ridiculous. This is invasion. And I'm glad he's on that. I'm glad he sees it. I think we need to stop saying, we're for immigration reform, but I think the Republican Party needs to say, hell no, we know what you really mean, and we're not going to do it. But other than that, I'm glad to hear what he had to say on that topic.
Very interesting that he also brought up the fact that there are newspapers that are running articles in Central and South America encouraging young people to head north into what I'm starting to call, Jonathan Mosley, into what I'm starting to call Obama orphanages. That's the key word that we got to get out. Hey, John, we got to take a break right now, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJZ 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, the way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And also, please check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioshow.com and CCRShow.com. Two different sites, different information on each one of them. Please don't go away. John and I will be right back.
They say I'm nasty, but oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today, the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader. You know, in addition to coming to you each and every Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, you could also hear rebroadcasts of our show at 10:10 this evening Eastern Time, and do that at patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m. when we end our live broadcast, if you'd like to hear a replay of yesterday's Conservative Commandos Radio Show, that's 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Place to go is cprworldwidemedia.com, cprworldwidemedia.com. You'll also be able to hear a rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon at vigilantlibertyradio.us. And don't forget, you can hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. So, John, you know, before we went to break, I played the interview where I spoke with Congressman Louis Gohmert last night about the kids from Central and South America being enticed by newspaper ads that are running in papers in Central and South America, saying that come up to the summer camps in the United States, they'll give you free food and they'll make you citizens.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. I wish I'd known that was going to come up, because I'm trying to find the. I read just the other day what the newspaper says, and again, OMG, this is unbelievable. What they make it sound like it's a summer camp. Send your kids up to the States. They'll become citizens. They'll have activities. They'll feed them. They'll give them. I mean, it sounds like an advertisement for a summer camp to the kids, up to the children, to the parents of Central America. Send and in particular, why this big rush? Mm-hmm. Apparently, in the newspapers in Central America, they're saying it's only good through the end of June.
Well, John, what I think is happening is, as these kids are coming out, they're becoming victims of crimes. They're being victimized. They're being beaten. They're being robbed. They're being raped. And I believe, as a humanitarian effort, it's incumbent upon the United States to buy 100,000 acres of land in southern Mexico, closest to where these kids are coming from Central and South America. Buy 100,000 acres of land and set up Obama tent orphanages to stop these children, to prevent them from being victims of crime. Mexico is a very dangerous place. A lot of Americans think of Mexico, of Cancun and Cozumel and Puerto Vallarta, the honeymoon and vacation paradises. Okay? But Mexico is a very violent and dangerous place. So you've got these hundreds of thousands of kids coming up through Mexico to come to the United States. The humanitarian thing would be to stop them in southern Mexico, put them in an Obama tent orphanage down there. Obama orphanages to save these children from what could possibly happen to them.
Well, that's lucky, because we don't have. He just declared a national park, what they call a monument, under misusing a law along the border down there, so we don't even have to go find the land.
Well, no, I say in southern Mexico, not near the U.S. border. In southern Mexico, as it's coming out of Guatemala, as it's coming out of the Central and South American countries, in southern Mexico. Keep them away from the U.S. border, okay? Because there's going to be a temptation. Oh, let them in. Where are these kids going to go? They're going to be going into these Obama orphanages.
I mean, England rented Hong Kong for 99 years from China. So we set up like Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, there you go. And I bet land in southern Mexico is very cheap, very cheap. You could probably buy 100,000 acres for maybe $100,000, $1 an acre. I don't know, $10 an acre, $100 an acre. Okay, but for the humanity to save these children, you set up these Obama tent orphanages. Joe Arpaio's tent city jails. Well, these aren't jails, but these are going to be. This is on Obama's hands now. These are Obama's orphans. All right.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to find this newspaper article again, but you wouldn't believe it. They're also being told that when they get here, they will be given what do they call it? A permit or something. The misinformation that's sending it up this way, sending this flood up this way, is that I don't know exactly the word they're going to get, but they will, as soon as they're here, they'll be handed their permit to stay permanently in the United States. And so when they're given their summons in English, of course, returned back to court in 15 days, a lot of these kids are saying, "Oh, this is my permit."
John, here, I'll take this one step further. I bet these ads that are being run in newspapers in Central and South America is probably being paid for by the Democrat National Committee.
Yes, well, that's the thing. And
left-wing liberal groups, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi. I bet they're the ones that are kicking in the money to buy these ads.
Well, the National Association of Former Border Patrol Officers is covered in WorldNet Daily 22 hours ago, Bob Unruh, called Ex-Border Agents Immigrant Flood Orchestrated.
Who is he, John? He may have been a guest on our show before. What's the gentleman's name?
Bob Unruh, UNRUH. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Is that the writer or the?
That's the writer.
Okay, who is the former border chief in the article?
Ronald Vitiolo is a deputy border patrol chief who's with the group, and my screen is not scrolling. But anyway, it's the Association of Former Patrol, the National Association of Former Border Patrol Officers, and they know what's going on there. They said this is being orchestrated, and they're comparing this, of course, with the famous Cloward-Piven strategy of overloading the welfare state.
So I may not be that far off, John, when I say these newspaper ads are probably being paid for by the Democrat National Committee, Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama.
Well, they always say, Rush Limbaugh is one of the people who's always joked that whatever liberal policy, they'll always say we're doing it for the children. They're going to suspend the Constitution, they're going to do it for the children. They're going to come and take away your guns, they're going to do it for the children. Whatever they want to do, well, that's what they're doing now. They're going to destroy the border, destroy sovereignty, break the immigration system for the children.
Well, yeah, I can understand that, John, because that's what we're doing, the Conservative Commandos radio show. We are doing it for the children, to save the children. That's why we do the Conservative Commandos radio show.
I think you have a new slogan. We have to get John Forsyth to re-record this. But we got stuff we're going to try to put together, and we've got about 2 minutes to mention it. But I'm
actually about 1 minute, John.
All right. Well, I want to put together a boycott of tourism in Mexico and Central America. We're also talking to some people to try to. Everyone, of course, you know that you have a Constitution in your pocket, so pull it out and read Article 4, Section 4. We need to get one of these state border state legislatures to invoke Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, which I think has never been done before, and force this issue. And if anyone listening wants to get involved in that, contact us and try to help. I'm trying to get some this idea to have a father, have a sponsor, and it goes. So we'll have to revisit this issue. And this is just, your jaw drops. What else can you say?
John, in about 30 seconds, could you tell our audience what Article 4, Section 4 says?
Okay, well, that it guarantees a Republican form of government and the protection against invasion and domestic violence. And, of course, this invasion of illegal immigrations is involved in a lot of criminal activity, drug smuggling, gangs, and a lot of activities. And if the legislature invokes that section, the U.S. government is required to defend the border. In this case, they'd have to close the border. Remember, at the time, wars were not fought on the timetable, they might go on for years with not much happening. It might be a small raid. It might be...
Hey, John, you're right. We do need an extra hour, but right now we do have to go to a break.
All right.
You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360 and around the world on the internet. Please don't go away. We'll be back with our first guest.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia. If you'd like to hear a repeat broadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening Eastern Time, log on to patriotsride.org. It's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m. when we end our live broadcast, if you'd like to hear a repeat of yesterday's show, log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com, CPRWorldwideMedia.com. And with that, John Mosley, we do have our first guest with us, and please make the introduction.
Excellent. All right. Bruce Price is a novelist, painter, poet, and also a longtime activist studying education. And speaking for myself, after my 5 years inside the U.S. Department of Education, Bruce Price is one of maybe 10 people I know of in the country, including Phyllis Schlafly, that actually gets it when it comes to what's going on in education over the decades. Bruce Price has 300 articles on many other sites. The best parts of these articles have been collected into a book called The Education Enigma: What Happened to American Education. Born in Norfolk, the Virginia native, graduated from Norfolk Academy in Princeton with honors in English literature. After 2 years in the Army, he focused on digital art and got in 35-plus juried art shows in a dozen states. But aside from the arts, Bruce Price's main activity is www.improve-education.org, which is now up to about 65 articles and 125,000 words of original content. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show, Bruce Price.
Thank you. That introduction probably went on too long, but thank you.
Yeah, mine usually do. I usually feel guilty if I'm not giving even 1% of the picture. But
well, when you said I'm one of the 10 people you can trust, that was a great honor that you said that. So
well, that's personally because, and we'll get into exactly onto that why. First, I want to say, though, with all the craziness going on, let's turn our attention to the nice, quiet, calm world of the schoolhouse where there's nothing wrong, right? With all the nothingness going on. I say in my bio on politics that the 5 years I spent at the U.S. Department of Education were the lost years, and that's because although I had hope for change, it seemed like nobody else really cared. But I noticed from your writing in the American Thinker something that's exactly right that's not being said enough. You had an article, let's see the date, it's about, a couple days ago?
Yes, the one that's Reform Math, yeah.
Yeah, it's about reform math must be destroyed, root and branch, talking about Common Core. But in that, you give the big picture. We've had Common Core on this radio station a lot, and I'm sure we will again. But there's two things that I think are vitally important. One is the whole trend here, what the root cause is, as Jocelyn Elders used to tell us, the real original root cause, and what's about to happen now with Common Core in terms of the repackaging.
Well, I think I'm not sure what you found most interesting, but what I see all across education, that's what they're good at. That's, in a nutshell, that's what they're good at. They never admit defeat and go home and keep quiet. They simply put a new package on the same old, jalopy out there. They put a new paint job on it, and then they bring it back the next year and call it the DeSoto, 2014, and they sell it to you again. And they do that in math, in reading, in everything. And it's really fascinating. Once you get onto it, sort of, you say, oh, my God, here comes another piece of junk. But you have to fight over and over and over again.
Well, yeah. To understand these things is kind of sick. You almost need to get in there dirty, and you have to admire their skill. But you have to remind yourself that it is kind of sick at the same time. But they are very good at it. And that's what I think. If we got Phyllis Schlafly on here, she'd understand it, but she'd wander all over the place. I'd never get her to get around because she knows everything. But nobody's talking about this. It's the same old pig with different lipstick, every few years. And this goes back how long, do you think? When I was
75 years. That's a round number that I use. I mean, they really got rolling in the 20s and 30s, and from that time on, they, depending on how confident they felt, they would sometimes just announce, okay, we're going to do something really dumb from now on, and then the public would complain, and they'd come back the next year and say, okay, that was a mistake, and then they'd pretend to launch something new. Like, I don't know which part of this you're most interested in, but just look at reading. In 1931, they announced Look, Say, and that was the first thing where people learned the design of a word rather than learning the sounds of the words. And it was called Look, Say, and it was called Hold Word, and it was called Memory Method, and it was called holds language, high-frequency words, dulce words, fry words. Every one of these is the exact same thing, but with different bells and whistles and different points of emphasis. But always what the kid is doing in the first grade is he's not learning to read the English language. He's learning to memorize the English language one word at a time. And once they get a kid doing that, he's finished as a real reader. By the way, I'm interviewing a great guy you should get on your show. Is Martin Kozloff. You ever heard of him? Anyway, he's a kind of a firebrand. And he threw this statistic out that the schools brag, but it turns out that 70% of people in our schools read at the fourth grade level. Now, even I didn't realize it was that bad. If you call all the way up to the senior year, 70% of the kids are reading at the fourth grade level, and they just constantly repackage same things that don't work. And they've they've gotten better at wrapping the whole thing in what I would call accommodations. In other words, they're teaching the kids to look at the pictures and look at the table of contents and look at the author's resume to find out what he might be writing about. In other words, all of these gimmicks, so that a kid can kind of pretend to read, but he can't actually read.
Well,
and they do that in math also, too.
Bruce Price, two things. First of all, remember that Bill Bennett, who was Education Secretary when I started, he said that he put out a report that said, which summarized that if a foreign country had done this to our schools, we would consider it an act of war.
Exactly.
And it is.
No, that was that was 1983. You know, it was called the famous Nation at Risk report.
Right.
That is one of those pivotal moments where somebody with a clever sense of humor just said out loud what was actually going on. It was really amazing, really.
But the problem is that all these politicians, and Jeb Bush, you know who you are so superficial and naive. And I saw them firsthand day in and day out, the U.S. Department of Education. They don't get their hands dirty. So all these progressive, experimental goofballs in education that don't know quite how to describe them, they get to run amok because the politicians give these vague generalities. They are trusting and believe that all the educators have a head on their shoulders and live on planet Earth, and then all these progressives, I guess is the best word for them, with these experimental concepts of humanity and of kids, go out there and run amok and just in their playground, and there's no correlation between what Bill Bennett is saying and what's happening. Is part of the problem, the way I see it. But why don't you say one other thing? You talked about the time lag when the parents finally get upset.
Well, in the case of this, what's so happened is so wonderful now with Reform Math is because some of these programs like the Everyday Math is the most hated. And there's actually a Facebook page called Parents Against Everyday Math, which everybody can go and check on. And basically, parents send in their nightmare stories, their horror stories. And they push so far. I think they were overconfident. I think a year or two ago, they thought this thing was in the bag, and they could say to the parents, screw you, this is the future, get used to it and do what we tell you. And then the thing started to fall apart. It was kind of the way Cantor just lost his election, you know. You get overconfident, right, and you stop taking care of business. And so all of a sudden, you got 25 million parents who have actually had the situation happen where the kid brings home a second-grade math problem and the parent has no idea what it is. Now, that is an amazing phenomenon. It shouldn't even be possible in a real universe, but that's what they do. And so a lot of people are pissed off. That was the point of my article, by the way, I want to say, is that people are now angry, they're more informed, and so we should use this to push back all the way until we get rid of all this stuff, because these people are just going to admit defeat for 6 months. They'll come right back and say they've changed it, but it won't be changed.
Right. You have a warning, too, because as state after state is repealing Common Core, you're saying, watch out. Why?
They'll just come back. It's just like what you're going to see in what Obama's doing with Obamacare, which is the same thing. You patch, you sidestep, you back up, you bait and switch, you lie. I mean, look, what these people really are. I was interested when you were telling us what your experience there in the government. The people at the political level probably don't know what's going on. They probably do trust these experts. And these experts,
they don't.
I think up at the very top, I think commies is really the easiest word to understand. They're like Obama. They're building a new country within the country we have, and they're not asking anybody's permission, and they're just going ahead and doing it. And in order to get that country, they have to numb the resistance, which basically ends up meaning dumbing down. And I think the woman Charlotte Iserby has got this book. I don't know, your audience, I don't know if this is all old hat for them or we need to explain all these things. But
not on this part. We've done a lot of Common Core snapshot today, but not how we got here. Go ahead.
Well, Charlotte Iserby has got this book on the internet, which anybody can look at, called The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. Now, that word deliberate is the key word. I sent her an email and asked her, did she coin this? And, not the whole phrase, but she did say that she thought she had introduced the word deliberate. That's saying it's a conspiracy. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're working at it. Now, that book's on the internet. It's a huge book. I don't think anybody can read it all the way through, but you can dip into it. And she's very highly regarded on the conservative side because she does her homework, and she was in the government also, 25 years before you or whatever. Reagan years.
Okay, we got a break now for 2 minutes if you can hold on.
Sure.
Thanks.
All right, we are going to take a break right now. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, the way we do, Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And don't forget, you can hear our show anytime, day or night, from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. There's no extra charges for this call, but make sure you use the phone that you have unlimited access. Please don't go away. We'll be right back with more with Bruce Price.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the Sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
And welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader. And don't forget, if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m. when we end our live broadcast, if you'd like to hear a repeat of yesterday's show, log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com. And our guest this segment is Bruce Price, and we're talking about Reform Math Must Be Destroyed, Root and Branch. Bruce, thanks for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
I'm glad to be here.
Bruce, I just wanted to mention that as old as I am, I'm in my 60s, that when I was in 5th grade, the school that I went to changed the math that they were teaching. That we went into
the 60s.
Yes, in around 64.
Yeah, that's when they did new math. Okay,
that new math. So they pushed this new math on us with all these number sets, And what happened, Bruce, when I got to high school, I couldn't add, subtract, multiply, or divide fractions because that's what 5th and 6th graders should have been learning. Now, I need basic mathematics every day. But as far as the new math goes and number sets, forget it. So in high school, as a senior, in order to learn basic mathematics, I had to take a basic mathematics class just to be able to graduate.
Yeah, that was the new math. See, the thing was, that's what my article talks about, is that there was just this one thing, and once people got onto it, the country turned against it, and in 5 years it was gone. So what they did was they laid low for about 10 years down in their basements or wherever they live, and then in the 80s they came up with reform math. Well, reform math was just new math revisited. In other words, it was a complicated way of teaching math so that kids wouldn't learn math. By the way, there's a famous YouTube video for anybody this is new to them. It's called An Inconvenient Truth, and it's by a weather lady out in Seattle named McDermott. I always remember MJ McDermott, Michael Jackson. Anyway, it's a good-looking woman who's a weather lady, and it's a 15-minute video, but if any of this stuff is new to people, how bad these programs are, you look at that YouTube video, and it's nothing to do with Al Gore. It's an inconvenient truth, but it's a great video, and the woman explains it in very great detail and shows you all the weird ways they make the kids add and subtract and multiply. You know, the lattice method. I don't know if you ever heard of any of these things. They found all the worst ways, and they burden the kids with this. Another thing that's going on is a lot of these kids are not fluent readers in 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. They don't ever become fluent readers. Meanwhile, the math people love word problems. So you got these wordy word problems, and the poor kid now is looking through two things he doesn't understand. He can't read very well, and then they give him these weird math problems. I mean, I gave a few examples. I got another article out there. People might be able to remember this one easier, just the one before on American Thinker. It's called Education That You Know Is Sick. And it's about these kind of problems. And, they're weird. They're things like, your father can climb 3 stairs in an hour and your mother can climb 7 stairs in a day, and you did that, and then what's the price of peanuts? I mean, it's those kind of things, but a little more subtle. And the kid doesn't know it's goofy. He's sitting there trying to answer it. He's drawing pictures, and but he has no hope. And they do a lot of this stuff because they're trying to convince the public that getting answers is not important. It's struggling to find the answer is what they want to emphasize.
Well, we're talking to Bruce Price from Improve-Education. Do I have it right?
Improve-Education.org. By the way, may I just say something? My middle name is Dietrich. People see it in print, they can't pronounce it, but you're like Marlene Dietrich, German name. Anyway, Bruce Dietrich Price. I'm that all over the internet. So if you see something with Bruce Dietrich Price, anyway, that's me.
Before the break, we were talking about how a lot of states, through a lot of hard work by the Tea Party and other conservatives, and actually even a lot of liberals and a lot of just downright teachers in the in the trenches. A lot of states are getting rid of Common Core, and you are pointing out how all they're gonna do is repackage it under a new name, and which is great for the money backers because they get to then print a whole new set of books and sell new teaching packages and make lots more money selling it to the public schools, as others have pointed out, like Phyllis Schlafly. But I wanted to point out, and you described this, how it's sort of like Professor Harold Hill in The Music Man, obviously one of my favorite movies, who just stays a few towns ahead of the law, chasing him because he's a flim-flam. And so they come out with this new thing. They stay a few years ahead of the parents figuring out that it stinks, and they're just staying ahead of the mob.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's so simple. Saxon math and Singapore math are just your basic old-fashioned teach kids arithmetic, and that's why the Singapore people are so much better than we are, because they got Singapore math. And meanwhile, Saxon math is a little bit in disarray because of state problems and the heirs and who actually did it and different people. So I'm in touch with some of the people trying to bring back Saxon math or make it widely available. But anyway, if a school can either use Singapore math or Saxon math, they'll be in good shape. If they use anything that the education establishment likes, then it's the same old crap. Am I allowed to say that? Anyway.
All right. Well, now I remember, and I don't know all them all, but again, the Bill Bennett people, Reagan Republican appointees, political appointees, smart people. I met them, socialized with them. They knew everything. Then the Bush people came in, Bush 1 and Lamar Alexander, and they came in with America 2000, It was going to be the answer to everything. And the Bush political appointees, when I would talk to them, they knew nothing. They were brain dead. They didn't know anything about politics, and they thought America 2000 was going to be the answer. Then we had Goals 2000. Then we had Every Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind.
No Child, yeah.
And No Child Left Behind. And every few years, it's this new fad. And it's a whole area that's driven by fad. And I said that it's the same pig with new lipstick. I'm not quite sure what to call the it. It's this.
I can tell you what it is. This is the formula I've come up with because it's so simple-minded. People will be amazed. You pretend to teach something, but you fix it so nobody ever learns it. Now that's what Hold Word does in reading, and what all of these reform math programs, you say you took new math, it basically pretended that you were busy all day learning math, right? You had a book, you had homework, you had problems, your parents thought you were learning math, but at the end of 8 years, you didn't know any math. Now think of the genius required, the cunning, evil genius required. And then they've got this thing called constructivism, which they use from the first grade to the 12th grade, and it also, just like everything else we were talking about, it has other names, inquiry, discovery. And basically it says, teachers, don't teach anymore. Let the kids go out and figure it out for themselves. It's all out there on the internet, blah, blah, blah. But if somebody doesn't teach you the basic things you need to know, you're never going to learn them. And so those are all equally fraudulent. I'm worried we're going to run out of time. The main thing is people have got to get strategic and look and try to understand for themselves all this nonsense. Because once they get you in a meeting somewhere at the school board or something, and somebody comes in from the high up to pitch something, it'll sound wonderful, just like you were describing when you saw the people come in and pitch it to the Bush administration, etc.
Yeah, and it's funny because just this morning on Fox and Friends, I believe it was this morning, they had a dog that the owner had trained to read the word, which is the look-say method. You don't know how to read, but you see a shape, and you just know what it means. And she can show the word sit, and the dog will sit. Now, she can teach her dog to read, but we can't teach our kids to read.
Well, you can teach them that up to about 50 words, and then it starts to get very difficult.
Yeah, because it's proven not to work. Our entire educational system, among 100 other problems, is founded upon a reading system that everybody knows, if they look at it, does not work. Look-say. But people say you have the incompetence. The explanation of this is a progressive, kumbaya kind of faulty belief about humanity that is driving these fads, or it's a deliberate conspiracy, or it's a small group of conspirators who are using the idealism to fool whole generations of teachers. But I have heard writings of socialists back in the 30s read from their own writings in events back when socialism was not a dirty word. It was a popular thing. And they said that Americans are too independent. The only way that we'll ever accept socialism is if we dumb down the schools.
No, wait a minute. Do you know who said that, or where that's a
no, I don't. I wish I had
believe that is true. I believe that's the essence of it, but I don't know I don't know where that actual quote is.
But you're talking about man. What's the word? Go ahead.
Reform math? No, it's all the same. I mean, the point is...
man.
What?
What's this guy's name? Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Don't let me interrupt you. Who said it? Or are you asking me?
No, I'm asking you because John Dewey is often credited with something like that.
I think it's Dewey. Yeah, it's right. It's Dewey. It was Dewey. Horace Mann was one of the other people.
But I've never been able to find out where it actually is.
I haven't. It was a long time ago. I don't know what book they were reading it for, but it was written by Dewey. That's correct.
Okay, well, John Dewey. Anyway, the thing about it, okay, I want to summarize this way. I've got a relative who says to me, they mean well, they just can't get their act together. So I've been meditating on that for a year or two, and I finally wrote some articles saying, no, they have got their act together, and they don't mean well. And once you get that in your head, these guys have got it all figured out. They know exactly what they're doing. The smartest people they can find that they can drink the Kool-Aid, they promote them, give them a PhD, and they say, you're going to spend your career inventing stuff that doesn't work. Go for it. And we're going to sell it to the public. Anyway, something I want to say, because I know you're going to finish up soon, but Bill Gates billion into making Common Core work, and it did not work. It's failing because he thought he was going to get a $9 billion market once all the standards were, so the same product would be used in every classroom across America. And that people like you and me and a couple thousand people wrote articles and organized things and Tea Party websites, and they've actually defeated this thing. And it's wonderful news. So I think this, we're all depressed because of Obama, but I mean, in terms of this education stuff, is good news.
Well, give your website again. I think we've got less than a minute left.
Improve-education.org.
But
it's a very big site. You know what I'd like to tell people? Just enter the name Bruce Price in anything you're interested in. Phonics, whole word, reform math, anything, constructivism, any of these things. A bunch of articles will come up in different places. And but if they go to improveeducation.org, that's where I put my serious articles. My longer articles, about 60 or 70 of them, and they explain things in a little, like 2,000, sometimes 1,500, 2,000 words. But I put.
All right, we got to go. We'll have to have you back sometime. We got to go. The clock is, but that was excellent.
I really appreciate being invited on your show. Thank you.
All right, we are going to take a break right now. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, and we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia. The way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and around the world on the Internet via our Internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment, and it is protected by the Second. We'll be right back with our next guest.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. EnjoyAbaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
EnjoyAbaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
Man your battle stations.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Rick Trader. Rick Trader, you there? I'm John Mosley, our co-host for today, and I'll introduce back our next guest if he's here. David Zuniga is back with us again. Let me say David Zuniga is Zuniga is the founder of America Again, a political reform movement. He has been a consulting engineer and former cattleman, commercial, and residential contractor. David Zuniga wrote the first draft America Again. And everything okay there?
Yeah, keep going, John.
All right, great. I'm worried about that solar flare. And he refined it with constitutionalist Mike Church and famous author and legal scholar Edwin Vera Jr. And now we're talking about his 10 lies, Congress tells us, liberal, I think official Washington tells us, from his book, The Bloodless Liberty in 2010, This Bloodless Liberty, which is available on Amazon, conveying his vision for America Again. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show, David Zuniga.
Hi, John. It's good to be back.
And I know I'm mispronouncing your name, even though you told me 5 times.
No, Zuniga, that's right.
Zuniga. Great. All right, thanks. So anyway, we went through your 10 lies in your book, and it really is a lot. And, you know, the fact that we're not going to get through it all, there's no way, is probably what an author wants to hear, so that people will go and get your book, This Bloodless Liberty, on Amazon or other places, or go to your website. Why don't you tell people your website in case they want to follow along? We normally do that at the end, but
the website is AmericaAgainNow.com, and if you go to the blog on our website, you can download my book for free. If you don't mind a PDF copy, it's available there for free. We're not trying to make money off the book. We're trying to get the book out to as many people as possible. So if you don't mind reading on your computer, then please download the book for free at AmericaAgainNow.com and go to the blog, and you can see a copy of the book there. That can be. It's called. The blog article is called "Finally, a Plan of Action," and it shows the cover of the book. You click there, and it can download the book.
Well, it's very generous of you. We went through several interesting visions that we went through last time, and we hit number 5. And as soon as I was reading and I hit number 5, there's no way we're going to get through all this. This could be 100 hours, and that's when I decided we're probably going to need a part 2. And we may refer to some of this again. But first of all, just very quickly say, why do you have 10 lies here? What are the 10 lies and their significance? And then why don't we jump in with lie number 5 and see how far we get?
Okay. Lie number 5 is that everything is interstate commerce. And I know you like this one, John. You focused on it when we first spoke.
This is my pet peeve.
The elastic clauses have really just been a mess, and as has really everything that Congress has done since about the Lincoln administration. The 37th Congress was the first one to really sell out to the cartels, and
since that time, since the 37th Congress, since about Jackson's time, about 1837 or so, Andrew Jackson wrote his farewell address and said, "Hey, watch out for those bankers. They're going to take you down, America." And he was right. But it wasn't just the bankers. I have an article. Let me just go on this tangent for a second because it ties back in. I have an article called "Can Americans Stop the Cartels?" on our AmericaAgainNow.com website. If you go to the blog and look for "Can Americans Stop the Cartels?", I walk you through what has happened to us, why politics will not work. It will not avail ever again. We can never change our lives and revert back to the limited government stipulated in the Constitution until we get over this fascination, deification of electoral politics. Because there's a smarter group, what the Occupy people like to call the 1%. They're actually probably a third of 1%, but these very, very wealthy people have always, for 5 generations, have owned Washington, D.C., not just the Congress, but our presidents, the federal courts, and especially all of the regulatory agencies. They absolutely run them. They have deep captured them.
Okay, so but let's not get too far into the weeds until we let the listeners in on. You know, it's hard not to bury your lead, and I know it's always probably best to jump back and forth and do both.
Sure.
But with those details, let's also zoom back a bit and catch people up on what is the interstate commerce problem. Why is interstate commerce? Why does anybody care about interstate commerce?
Well, it's the same. Interstate commerce is one of the 3 what have come to be known as elastic clauses. The other 2 are the necessary and proper clause, and then the general welfare clause. And all of these stretching exercises are essentially dealt with in the same way. The puppet finds a deal he wants to do for his patron, and he finds a way to include it or to show it as interstate commerce. On one side or another of that case, there is somebody trying to cut a deal and being cut off. And so somehow or another, the federal courts have to get jurisdiction so that they can end up shunting the state or the person in the state who's trying to assert their rights. And so to do that, they come in with this interstate commerce clause. Oh, that's a federal matter. It's interstate commerce. Even if there's nothing interstate about it, it's intrastate. But they'll always find some nexus. So it's just one of the 3. They do the same thing with the necessary and proper clause.
And let me give you my perspective on this, because I was sitting in law school really having a hard time because most I was learning was such nonsense. And they're explaining some of this from the standpoint of this is the truth, even though it was George Mason. So there was this long period called the Lochner era of the U.S. Supreme Court decisions, or the meatpacking cases, which are common sense but are considered like Satanism as far as modern law and politics is concerned, when they actually struck down laws and said, nope, you can't do that. Congress wanted to do these things and regulate everything, and they say, no, you can't do that.
Right,
and then FDR, slaughterhouse, yes, thank you. And that brought, and this whole change. Some people have said that we're on at least our 3rd Constitution, that the Civil War and the 14th Amendment radically changed. Well, maybe 4th, but probably Marbury versus Madison changed it right out of the gate. And then we got our 3rd Constitution out of the Civil War, and the gun to the head of the court packing scheme by FDR gave us arguably our 4th Constitution. This is not the Constitution our founders wrote. And so basically, if you swung a cat around Washington, D.C., there's practically nothing represented in Washington, D.C. that is constitutional without the interstate commerce clause, that they can regulate interstate commerce. Right?
Well, what can I say? You've encapsulated it. That's true.
Yeah.
Now,
so originally, interstate commerce is common sense, but not today.
Yes. they were trying to make regular the commerce between the states when you had two or more states at loggerheads over a commerce issue. But, well, you're right. But, you made a point several times. We have three or four, we're on our third or fourth version of the Constitution. There's only one version. It's black letter. It's there. There are many court decisions made on aspects of it, but the law still stands. I mean, the law is there, and it is the law, and it is the supreme law over the Congress and over the courts, the federal courts, and over presidents. But it's under us. We are over it in terms of jurisdictional authority or sovereignty. We're the apex sovereigns. I think Larry Kramer, who used to be Stanford Law dean, and now he's working for some foundation or something. He wrote a book called "The People Themselves," and it's all about constitutional authority. And as the title of the book suggests, we have the ultimate authority. We are collectively, of course, not individually. We, the people, are collectively a higher authority than the U.S. Supreme Court. Why? Well, for obvious reasons. The first three words of the highest law says, we, the people, we're the ones instituting this court. And we've also instituted a Congress, and then we gave in Article 3, Section 1, we gave the Congress the power, the authority to institute its own courts, federal inferior courts. So we did all of this stuff. We, the people, we're the boss of all of this stuff. Now, if we don't like what's going on, as you said, during the war, and I really think Lincoln's War was the watershed where essentially we were hijacked at that point. The Republic was hijacked.
Remember, we've got about 30 seconds left before the break, so go ahead.
We were hijacked at that point, and we've had a hijacked way of life since Lincoln, and that happened to be the generation in which Marx, Lincoln, and Darwin all taught and all did their thing. And history is all the rest is history. It's been a mess.
That progressivism can come up with a new and better way. I guess we're on our break here. Can you hold on for about 2 minutes and continue after the break?
Yeah.
All right, we are going to take a break right now. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with, who is it today? I'm losing track. It must be that Jonathan Mosley. And I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360 and around the world on the internet. Yes, even I have brain cramps. Hard to believe, but true. Please don't go away. We're going to continue our interview with David Zingit. David, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but please forgive. Be right back.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader coming to you from the CCRS studios. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. Now, 5 p.m., when we end our live broadcast, if you'd like to hear a replay of yesterday's show with Daria Novak and Sharon Engel, please log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com. And for another rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon, place for that is VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And Jonathan Mosley, will you please pick up the interview?
All right, thank you. We're back again with David Zuniga of America Again Now, and we're talking about some of the details in his book, This Bloodless Liberty, which he's generously made available on his website in Acrobat PDF form that people can download. Why don't you give us that website again, David Zuniga?
Yes, it's AmericaAgainNow.com.
Okay, and we were talking, I think, about how last time we were on, we couldn't get through all of these 10 lies that Congress, it's listed as 10 lies that Congress tells us, but I think you mean all of official Washington tells us these things. And we talked a great deal, I think, about your explanations of how things that are not federal are, the states are supreme. This tricky difference between the limited jurisdiction of the federal government and how outside of that area the states are supreme over their child, in effect, that they created. And it's related here, I think, to the Interstate Commerce Clause, which that we were talking about just a moment ago, that if something is not interstate commerce, truly, in reality, then it's reserved to the states, right?
Yeah, there's also the jurisdictional issue, as far as territorial issue, and the courts, state and federal courts, have ruled many, many times. Supreme Court, beginning with, I forget, McIlvain v. Cox, Leslie, I think was the first one in 1800-something, 08, I think. There was like an 1827 case, Harcourt. Harcourt v. Gayard, I think, or something like that. But beginning, right after Marshall seemed to have given away the store, or stolen the store for the federal government in 1803 with Marbury v. Madison. As far as we get to be the boss, the U.S. Supreme Court will decide what the law is. Well, no, you won't. The people will, because the people are superior to you in authority, in sovereignty. But the people have to know how to get together, how to use tactical force massing, how to use wisdom, and to operate collectively, because each of us individually, we're not sovereign. We are just individuals. So our sovereignty as states and as the people is only operative if we learn how to how to do this right. Otherwise, we're going to continue to be taken. This hijacking will just continue. As long as we allow it, it will continue. So America Again is, I'm an engineer by profession, have been for almost 30 years. My brother, the co-founder of this thing, is also an engineer. And when you analyze what's going on and you look at all the attorneys, all the writers, all the statesmen, all the professors that have spoken about these issues over the decades and generations, you see the problem posed again and again and framed correctly again and again, but you don't see a solution. So Larry Kramer's book, like I told you, The People Themselves, that book in whatever it was, 2004, 2005, opened my eyes to this whole issue that we really are the ultimate sovereign, we the people. Now, how can we act like the ultimate sovereign? How can we beat these guys at what they're doing to us? And so that's where America again came from. I went back to Alexander Hamilton, of all people. I mean, the guy is a monster. But in his Federalist 28, he basically lays out what you can do and how you can do it. He doesn't talk about doing it in the courts. He talks about doing it militarily. When the people in the states get together, they can overpower the federal government. But he was talking about militarily, and I don't think that's the way to do it. I think this is the way to do it, in the courts.
Well, I think our founders agonized over whether they had done every possible thing short of military action, and I think exhausting to the nth degree our other options is I think a moral imperative. But I think, thank God, that perhaps we have some opportunity to do that. Well, let's see. I don't know if we, again, we could spend 100 hours on the Commerce Clause, because practically everything that the government is doing now is justified under that misinterpretation. Pardon?
Yes.
So,
I agree.
If we went back to the original constitutional meaning of necessary and proper, almost everything that conservatives argue the government should not be doing would cease. Now, a lot of it, that means it would go back to the states. Almost all. Like, I'm amazed at the number of people who think that if we got rid of the U.S. Department of Education, there wouldn't be schools. I work there. Believe me, it doesn't do anything but take up space. If the U.S. Department of Education were abolished, most people wouldn't notice. So things would go back to the states. But that's why interstate commerce is so important. No, I don't know if you have more to say on that, or you want to move on. Again, people can. There's no way we're going to get through all this, so people need to download your book and read it.
Yeah. By the way,
go ahead.
In the back of the book, let me do a quick excursion here. In the back of the book, I have synopses of 41 other books that I consider essential to understanding why we are the way we are, how we got here. They're excellent books, so I synopsize each of those, some of them with only a few sentences, others with several pages. But just those synopses, from what I understand from my readers, that's one of the most enjoyable parts or useful parts of the book to readers. So look for that in the back of the book. I think it's called recommended reading or suggested reading. I don't even remember what I called it. But there are 41 books synopsized there, and you can learn a lot just by reading those synopses. Okay, so back, I'd like to sort of segue into lie number 6, which is...
Yes, exactly what I was thinking. Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Another of the elastics, because like you say about necessary and proper or interstate commerce is true of general welfare. But the name of that, lie number 6, is general welfare means the founders were socialists. So I give the lie to that by just quoting first de Tocqueville and then Madison several times. And let me just read one of Madison's pieces on this. He says, if Congress can employ money indefinitely to the general welfare, and Congress is the sole and supreme judge of the general welfare, then everything from the highest object of state legislation down to the most minute object of police, and you were talking about Department of Education, would be thrown under the power of Congress. It would subvert the very foundations and transmute the very nature of this limited government established by the people of America. Now here's the guy who is called, by almost everyone, is called the father of the Constitution, James Madison. He's saying, no, it doesn't. General welfare doesn't mean everything. It can't. That would ruin everything that we've written here. So I go on to talk about Jimmy Carter and some of his, I think, DOE, Department of Energy, and the fact that it was. Anyway, what a mess that was. But all of the thousands of agencies, bureaus, departments, etc., that are nowhere authorized, stipulated in the Constitution, are lawless. They're illegal. They are extra legal. They're just being done because the money's there and the will is there on behalf of the bureaucrat to keep his job and to even expand his department. And so we are allowing this ourselves. So how do we stop this? I say that the easiest way we found was you go after individual players and you get them on state criminal charges. Forget all of the things they're doing with the Constitution, because as long as you make federal cases out of federal things, you're going to end up in a federal court somewhere. And under Article 3, Section 1, those belong to Congress. So who do you think is going to prevail in those cases? Every time. Congress. If they're the defendant, they're always going to win. So you have to take this. We've got to use our brain and say, wait a minute. We're the people. We're higher than all of this. How do we get around this? And that's where the indictment, the idea of the America Again indictment engine came in. You know, you take them on state charges, you break them up, you bring the individual congressman or senator back home into their state criminal court. You find a harmonizing issue of criminal law, in the state law, and you pin them on that, and you make sure it's intrastate and it remains entirely outside the jurisdictional aegis of the feds. And that's how we win.
Okay, well, sadly, David Zuniga, time flies, and when we're having fun, and we may have to have you back some more. But I'm glad you've given out a website where people can read more on this free book. Thank you so much. Back to you, Rick Trader. Thank you, David Zuniga.
Thank you, John.
All right, we are going to take a break right now. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia. The way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and around the world on the internet via our new internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRun.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And don't forget, you can now hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the Sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader. As usual, we're coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360 and around the world on the internet. And don't forget, if you'd like to hear a repeat broadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m., when our live broadcast ends, if you'd like to hear a repeat of yesterday's show with Sharon Angle and Darian Novak, place for that is at CPRWorldwideMedia.com. And with that, John Mosley, we do have our next guest with us, and will you please make the introduction?
Well, I'm glad. We've got First Sergeant John Bernard, U.S. Marines, retired. John Bernard spent 26 years in the U.S. Marine Corps, both active and reserve, and he spent 50 years in the trade. He is a conservative, a Christian who believes our founders subscribed their beliefs to something far greater than themselves. He's not a believer that the U.S. Constitution is a living document. John Bernard has been married for 30 years and has one daughter and one son who, as I understand it, was killed in action in Dahana on August 14, 2009, and is now safe and resting in the arms of our Lord. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show, First Sergeant John Bernard.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Well, it's good to have you. Well, we have you on here. We might test out some mission creep here, but we invited you on here because there's some things happening in the news, is what I mean. You have an organization, or a project at least, called Let Them Fight, working on how the restrictive rules of engagement have, in my words, I would say, crippled our military efforts around the world. And I think you've been applying these, if I'm not mistaken, to the Bergdahl situation and the Benghazi consulate. Where do you want to start with all that? What is the problem with letting them fight?
Well, sure. It wasn't that many years ago that most people hadn't heard of the ROE, and if they did,
exactly,
they thought it had something to do with fish eggs. And lo and behold, over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, we've been able to get people in tune so that they understand that the ROE is basically it's a set of rules, or what we call the rules of engagement.
Hey, John, could I interrupt for a second? Are you on a speakerphone?
I am.
Could you pick up the receiver? It's makes a world of difference.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Yeah, I'll try to repeat this here. About 5 or 6 years ago, when we first started with this, and we were complaining about the ROE, it became obvious that the average person didn't know what the ROE was. They didn't know that there were set of rules governing how you conduct yourself in the field of combat. What happened was that conversation began to derail, and people began.
Hey, John, I'm sorry to interrupt again. I don't know what happened, but you're really breaking up now.
All right, let's step out. Hold on.
Okay.
Can you... John? Yeah, I'd recommend...
Life and live radio, you know that...
Right, but I'd recommend you use the speakerphone and just lean closer.
Is this better?
Yeah, it's a little better. Thank you. Try that, John.
Okay, great.
Oh, much better, much better.
Good. Okay. Well, once again, the ROE, as we started to discuss it with people, it became obvious that, number one, they hadn't heard of it. They became incensed over the idea that there were a set of rules governing troops in combat anywhere in the world, that if you put somebody in harm's way, there was an expectation that they would be able to interdict the enemy and do so in a way that would preserve their lives and hold the enemy accountable. Once they found out that these rules existed and exactly how egregious they were, they picked up the mantle and they began to complain about it, not only amongst themselves, but to their legislators and whatever. And we had some level of success actually talking to legislators as they would then interview generals that would come in from time to time and they say, hey, look, what's the deal? Our people are getting slaughtered and there's no apparent understanding that they need the ability to defend themselves, which then quickly got turned around because the generals quite correctly would say, look, if the strategy is going to succeed in either Afghanistan or Iraq, as was the case at that time, then the rules are necessarily strict. And that sort of took the wind out of the sails. Nobody knew where to go from that. So I've spent the rest of my time from that point to this explaining to people that it's not the ROE, it's the strategy. And making people understand that it's the strategy that needs to change, not the rules. If you're going to fight within the paradigm of counterinsurgency doctrine, then the rules by necessity should be tight. The question is whether or not you can win a counterinsurgency operation at all, ever. And historically, they've all failed.
Sergeant John Bernard, let me ask you some dumb questions, because again, we kind of have to zoom in and zoom out between catching people up and then giving them the new information, because most people may not realize how much it matters what the strategy and the rules are. You say, well, you have 100,000 troops, they're going to get a certain result. But it makes an enormous difference what those 100,000 people are doing. And there's studies that in some wars, most people never fire their gun, even when they're being fired at, or right in the vicinity of a thing. And it makes a gigantic difference what those 100,000 people or whatever it is are actually doing. I mean, can you explain?
Well, certainly. First of all, there's this sort of misunderstanding about warfare in general. The suggestion is you field troops, everybody carries a rifle, somebody gets a mission, everybody gets a mission. It's about going out, interdicting an enemy, and then holding them accountable at the point of a rifle. And the reality is that it's only a percentage of the, like in the Marine Corps, it's about 40% that are trigger pullers and 60% that actually support the mission. So, and that percentage doesn't change much on the ground. So if Marine Corps wide, you've got 60% supporting the 40, that's kind of how it shows up on the battlefield. So you're right, there's a lot of support structure. That support structure includes things like aircraft and artillery that are supporting the guys that are actually bringing the fight, boots on the ground, to the enemy on the other side of the line, so to speak. And so you've got that. The question about whether or not it's going to be successful, well, you need to define, what the mission is precisely, and then based on the mission, then you proceed with a specific strategy. And where we got... Yes, go ahead.
So let me say, so for the average voter, we can send out a huge army and get clobbered if we've got a dumb strategy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the reality is we are, in fact, the strongest, most dedicated, most committed military the world has probably ever seen. I don't think there's ever been an army fielded, and when I say that, I use that word generically. There's never been an army fielded in the history of mankind that has been as dedicated. In other words, each trigger puller is willing to place himself in jeopardy terminally until the job is done. That's sort of unheard of. And so to suggest that we could fail in battle it can only happen one of two ways. Either we're up against an enemy that is so overwhelming in size and technological advancement, or we've chosen not to fight him the way we should. And the second part is where we have been these last 12 to 14 years.
Okay, so the rules are so we're not making use basically of the capabilities of what we've got, and we're going to. This is what people felt about Vietnam. That we could have won. I don't know, but the feeling was that we're not going about it the right way, and you're concerned that they're not going about it the right way now. And
yes,
tell us more about how.
Correct.
Let me end my interruption. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You've got that right on the head. And the thing is that, for me, it wasn't a lot of hand wringing. It was about raising the flag and saying, look, if you're going to fight, you fight. If you've got a mission defined, mission is supposedly defined, then carry out that mission, get it done, and then come home. What we ended up doing was we morphed. We went in there initially to hold the Taliban accountable, for instance, in Afghanistan. And what did we do? Within a matter of hours, we went in, we knocked the Taliban off their throne and pushed them into the Tora Bora Hills. Inside of a year, my argument is that based on the original commander's intent, in other words, what the president said he wanted to do, we were finished with that. Once we had them in Tora Bora, we could have firebombed the hills, killed them all, and just left. It was a mission of retribution. You hurt us, we're going to hurt you. Done. And that was the end of it. Where it went off track was we then decided, we should probably go into Afghanistan or, do an about-face, head back to Kabul even, and start to rebuild the country. It doesn't make any sense. And as soon as you start rebuilding the country, what you end up doing is by necessity, you start looking at the entire lay of the land. You look at not only the terrain, but you look at the enemy, you look at the government, and you look at the people. And there's a long story about how we finally decided to operate within this incredibly horrible, historically failed strategy called counterinsurgency. But the bottom line is we looked at everybody as being equal to any other group of people we've ever faced throughout the course of our history on the battlefield.
All right, could we pick that up after dinner break?
Absolutely.
All right, we are going to take a break right now. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360 and around the world on the internet. Hey, check out our websites, ccrshow.com and conservativecommandosradioshow.com. Don't go away. We'll be right back to continue our conversation with our guest.
Make my own decision. That's my prerogative. They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the Sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host every day, Rick Trader, and I am your co-host one day a week, normally Wednesdays, John Mosley. We have our guest, First Sergeant John Bernard, U.S. Marine Corps retired, and his project, Let Them Fight. He's at www.letthemfight.blogspot.com discussing the rules of engagement. And, I am amazed, I think, at the importance that having a powerful, effective military, we can still lose without good strategy and good leadership. And I don't think people really appreciate that things don't necessarily have to always stay the way they are. So let's go back. You were saying that counterinsurgency is not a good approach, according to what that means. And I think people say, we have this powerful military, why can't we just go over there and it'll be okay?
Right. Yeah, well, just a little context. The actual doctrine itself was written in 1940 or published in 1940. First time it was used was by the British in Malaysia. They got their butts kicked after 12 years of fighting. They got rid of the insurgency, but they didn't actually solve the problem because the insurgency came back in 1967, and they lost Malaysia in the process. During that same period of time, the French were fighting in Indonesia. By 1954, they got their butts kicked at a place called Dien Bien Phu, at which time we took responsibility for Vietnam. And as we all know, in 1975, we left and lost 58,000 people, presumably to stop the communists from spreading in Vietnam. And guess what? The communists took over anyway. We then saw it used again in Somalia. We landed using the doctrine of counterinsurgency in Somalia. That didn't work. We tried it again in Bosnia. That didn't work. We tried it again in Iraq, right at the tail end. And General Petraeus was lauded as actually the author of counterinsurgency doctrine, which was absolutely incorrect. The problem is that he instituted it at the same time that we force-fed 30,000 American uniforms into Fallujah. The enemy, then that which didn't die, fled. Well, they fled because there was no place to go. It's called displacement. They couldn't operate, so they left. And so he declared a victory based on coin, and it was not true. Ratchet forward, in 2008, we moved back into Afghanistan, and we reapplied coin there. And ever since then, the death toll has gone up dramatically. And there have been incredible increases in the numbers of, our supposed allies turning their weapons on us. And the reason being is we mis-ID'd the population, we mis-ID'd their ideology, and we mis-ID'd their motivation based on their ideology. We decided to leave any discussion of their ideology, their religion, on the carpet floor, and what ended up happening was we went in and believed that they were just like us, and all they wanted to do was raise their kids and kind of get on with life, without realizing at any moment that they could become the quote-unquote true believer and then turn around and turn their weapons on us. That's what counterinsurgency does. It also does this. When you have a Marine or a soldier that's in harm's way, that's actually being fired upon from a structure in which you think there could be, possibly, but you don't know, but there could be the possibility of civilians, the ROE demands that you not fire. So you're being fired upon, cannot return fire, which means you increase exponentially the opportunity for you to be killed and, in the end, not hold the enemy accountable.
John, Rick Trader here. John, God bless you and your service to our country. And I admire everything you and everyone in uniform does for our country. But one of the most sombering things I've ever done is visit the wall in Vietnam. John, I don't know what it is, but there is just something somber and eerie there that I can't explain. It just sent chills up and down my spine. And when we got involved in Iraq and Afghanistan, I had a conversation with a young man who was definitely against the war. And at that time I said to him, well, I think we need to do this. We need to protect ourselves. We need to stop terrorism. Saddam Hussein is a very bad guy. We got to get rid of him. But at that time I said to him was this: what I hope is that the solution, the outcome, does not become political. Because in my opinion, that's what happened in Vietnam. it became very political. And unfortunately, John, I think that's what we're seeing here, exactly what you're talking about. And I'll also continue it by saying that I think we are seeing now, especially with the news that's coming out of Iraq today as we speak, what is happening when our military wins a war, but our politicians lose it for us. That I don't think that we should get involved in these wars anymore, John, because we got politicians that call the shots, politicians that put out the orders. And now we got a politician like Barack Obama is handing back everything that our men and women in the military has won. And what I'm fearful, John, is there's going to be an extension to that Vietnam wall that's going to say Iraq and Afghanistan. And just like we have 58,000 names on that wall for Vietnam, we're going to have another 7, 8, or 9,000 on a wall that represents to me a waste because of what the politicians have done. Am I right or wrong, John?
You're right to a degree, and I'll tell you that nobody is more acutely aware of loss than I am, having lost my only son in August of 2009. And the thing is that there are righteous reasons for incursions into foreign lands. When we went into Afghanistan, it was on the heels of us having been assaulted right on our homeland, 9/11. All of the intel agencies across the world all agreed that those who attacked us launched their plan, formulated their plan, and then launched out of Afghanistan. There's discussion about what nationality they were. Frankly, I don't care. They trained in Afghanistan. We know that at the behest of the Taliban. Mm-hmm. This is the reason we hold the Taliban accountable. So if there was a reason to go into Afghanistan, for me it was retribution to hold those accountable. We went in not holding the nation accountable, just holding those who were responsible. Once we had them, held up in the Tora Bora Mountains, we could have we had the capability, with very, very inexpensively, to eliminate them. There's something called Fay Ordnance. We could have carpet bombed with Fay Ordnance. We would have killed everything in the hills. That would have been the end of it. We decided not to, inexplicably. And then we started to transform our understanding of what we should be doing there into, again, a nation-building scheme, which never works. And you can only operate like that within coin. What's important to know, however, is this. In 2008, when we changed, when we decided to redirect from Iraq back to Afghanistan, there was a meeting that was held. And that meeting was determined, it was at the Pentagon, it was determined to reassess where we were and where we wanted to go, and to look at all elements of Afghan society. And there was a gentleman by the name of Stephen Coughlin who was handed, he's a major in the Army Reserve, he was handed the responsibility of looking at the religion, looking at the ideology of the country, and determining, whether or not it was something we needed to look at, because there was concern. He wrote a 324-page thesis in which he basically said, look, you cannot separate the ideology from the people or the culture. They're one in the same. And there are motivations which in the religion which makes the population unstable, meaning you can't trust what they're going to say or do from one day to the next. So he gave this warning. The problem was there was also a Muslim by the name of the name of the man was Hesham Islam, who was a confidant of the Deputy Secretary of Defense, a guy by the name of England, who had determined that he didn't like what the Coughlin was saying. And so he told England, this friend of his, England, who was the Secretary of Defense again, he said, look, you got to get rid of that guy and get rid of that report. I don't want to see that thing showing up. So because England was friends with him, he did that. So he got rid of Coughlin, he got rid of the report. So when the Joint Chiefs and everybody sat down and began to formulate or finish off their assessment so that they could go forward and figure out what the strategy would look like, it was cleansed of any discussion of the religion or its potential to motivate people.
Politics again, John. Hey, John, we got to go in about 30 seconds. I'm sorry to cut you off. We're going to have you back on our show. Can you give out your websites again?
Absolutely. It's www.letthemfight.blogspot.com.
John Bernard, I want to thank you for your service, and God bless the memory of your son.
Thank you very much.
Take care. And with that, John Mosley, we do have to wrap it up for today. I want to thank you for sitting in as my co-host. I also want to thank Boardman Brett for doing a great job. But for right now, we got to run, we got to go. Take care, God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow on the radio.
Thank you for listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. Huge thanks to our co-hosts, contributors, patrons, callers, and our friends at WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460, where we broadcast live every Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern and 2 to 4 p.m. Central. Look for us on the internet at www.ccrshow.com. Until next time, we are the Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.